amongst you has visited or frequented the old King's Head Theatre? Wow, lots of people. How many of you are very excited that we have a brand new King's Head Theatre? Yay! Wonderful. Yes. Oh yes, you can raise your hands too. Very good. Who's been to a Scandi Hotel? Any Scandi Hotel fans? Lovely. Okay. I can't even remember. Oh, who would say no to Timothy Chalamet? No hands. Okay, and who knows they've already got a question they want to ask? No. Okay, all right, great. Okay, so we will come to you. I'll get the ball rolling, but everybody, seriously, don't be shy. It's much more fun if you get involved. And for those of you on the stage, you guys know the play, the production much better. So equally, if you think that we are missing something, steer us in the right direction. Okay, let me introduce you to, please save your applause for the end. Here, the two faces you might not recognize are the co-writers of the show, Shaun McKenna and Andrew Van Sickle. And then we have the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cast. Jake, Rolando, Øystein,
yes,
woohoo, Rob, and Ashley. Okay, so, and before we speak specifically about Exhibitionists, I do want to, again, just take a moment to talk about the fact that we're in this brilliant new venue. And to say a huge congratulations to Sophie, Alex, who did the bucket collection, Charlie, everybody at the venue for like a 10-year journey to make this happen, and I'm sure a very frantic time getting the doors open this past week. So for all of you on the stage with me, how do you feel about being the first show in this theatre, and what has it been like, the experience of putting it on? Shaun?
Oh, they're incredibly lovely. They are an incredibly nice, lovely team. I mean, we were very much focused on getting the show on, while they were busy. And we would be walking in down the stairs and everything, where there weren't any of those lights. There were just lots of bare wires sticking out. And like 2 days before the show, you're going, is it going to be ready? Is it going to be? And of course, they're such a nice team and so well organised that they were, and it was. And it's been great. It's an added pressure to open a new venue, obviously, for the show as well. But when it's a great venue like this, it's a pleasure, really.
Yeah. Let's hear from a couple of the cast. Rob, you're looking at me.
It's terrifying. No, it was everyone's very close. And we had lots of stop-starts because it was Christmas, New Year's, sudden cold spell. It was a bit of a building site when we first came in here, so we were still sweeping up and getting ready, but it's a great venue, isn't it? And to be directly behind the old King's Head, it's pretty cool. So yeah, we're loving it.
And it also seems significant, doesn't it, because of the history of the King's Head Theatre, to bring this great play, which is such a celebration of gay life, to such an address seems significant. Does that strike any of you, Andrew?
Well, yes, it's when we first met and we were chatting about the screwball era, and we thought it would be really fun to have a sort of modern queer comedy of manners with that sort of rat-a-tat-tat dialogue, and also the tendency that these pieces have to be able to nail the truth and then move on rather than necessarily belaboring. And so we were curious about whether we could get something like that sorted, and it's been about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And suddenly here we are. Yeah,
yes.
for me, it's been quite a wild ride.
Okay, all right, well, wonderful. Let's then jump ahead to that. So, as I mentioned, Andrew and Shaun, you have co-written the piece. It's quite an interesting collaboration between the two of you, because Shaun, you are an incredibly experienced dramatist. We've seen lots of award-winning productions of yours over many years.
I'm just old.
Yeah. And Andrew, this is your professional playwriting debut, so congratulations. How did you two meet? You talked a little bit about the idea, but how did you two meet and decide that you did want to write a play together?
Well, it was at the White Cross, wasn't it? The White Cross pub, and it was a mutual friend's Richmond drinks do, and we just got talking.
Oh yes, sorry.
It was the White Cross in Richmond, and we got chatting about how glad we were to have Richmond Theatre. I think that we mentioned that, didn't we? And then how we enjoyed the screwball comedies, and how we could maybe get a new comedy, comedy of manners sorted. And then I said something along the lines of, well, I mean, I'm really experienced at drama because I run a magazine, and that's essentially like a weekly Amdram production that's incredibly chaotic. So I was trying to sort of say, I'm sure we could do it together.
And well, the idea just came out, didn't it? Because we found that shared love of those 30s, 40s comedies. I don't know if we discussed it that night. We certainly did subsequently, but a lot of the people who wrote those things were gay and couldn't write about it then.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, what would one look like now if it was set now in a completely different gay world, but still a kind of heightened, glamorous world. What we wanted to avoid was another gay play which was really miserable, where people died or got horrible diseases or were abused or terrible things happened to them and suffered. And we just thought, they're great. I've seen lots of them, and I don't want to see any more. And we thought, well, why don't we try and write something that's actually just funny, but which touches on some of those serious things.
It's about the balance of being able to touch on these serious things without doing them to death.
Yes.
And yet having those serious things in the play, because otherwise it's just fluff.
Yes.
Right. And so the thing is that I've always thought there's always a lot more truth in a casual aside than in a really, really long speech, and that's why we hoped anyway, what we were trying to do was touch on various things that are recurrent themes in the queer world, open relationships, whether that's a good idea or not, to what extent, where you draw the line in open relationships, like what if you have a throuple arrangement, how does that work? For some people that's not for them at all. Ryan. So it's one of those things where we thought you can play with all sorts of interesting themes in a fairly light-hearted way.
Yes.
Obsession, addiction, all those
Yes, and
all those other
abuse,
things.
and there's a horrific moment when you're about to take the wine and Mark wanted to shout out. Like,
Is he going to drink the wine or isn't he?
Yeah.
All that stuff. And it's an amalgam of complete fantasy, various bits of my experience, various bits of Andrew's experience, and all kind of wrapped up in the tropes of those sorts of plays.
If you haven't yet got the program, do get it. There's also a wonderful piece, program note from the writers talking about many of the things that we've touched on there and about how the homage to the comedies of the past, which is really meaningful. So, cast, tell me, did you discuss many of these issues in rehearsals? First of all, how long did you have to rehearse? Tell me, Jake.
We rehearsed for 4 weeks.
4 weeks, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's pretty decent actually.
Yeah.
And we did talk about a lot of our personal things around the table with Brona in the first week.
And so although I am the only female on stage at the moment, you do have other females involved in the production, including the director, which was that do you think that was a conscious choice to have a female director and that adding something to it?
It wasn't, and it's great, isn't it? We just went to see Flowers for Mrs. Harris at Riverside, which Brona did before this, and loved it. And Brona's hugely experienced and very warm, and we just clicked. Shaun and Andrew clicked, and we all clicked, and so that's how it came about, really.
Right, so that is Brona Lagan?
Yeah, Lagan.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correct, the director. Thank you, Brona, she is wonderful.
She's on a plane to Bahrain at the moment, so she can't be with us.
So going back to, did you discuss many of these issues, the serious and the silly issues in rehearsals? Ashley?
Yeah, I think like Jake said, we kind of touched upon them a little bit, just going through the script, and we kind of all gave our own little anecdotes of our own lives, and so ish, I think, is the word to answer
Ish,
that.
we had 2 days. We did 2 days, didn't we? 2 days at the beginning, a day or so on the text, breaking down the text, talking about everyone's backstory, finding where they'd been, the journey up California. Actually 2 days is pretty good, and then we all did our own research as well into backgrounds and things that happened.
With a new piece in particular, I'm always curious, how much it changes in the rehearsal, and because you're the first people playing these roles, you're kind of putting your stamp very much on the piece. Did you feel that, and were you guys open to any feedback from the cast?
Yes, well, in my case, I have another job, unfortunately, so I couldn't be as close as involved as I wanted to. What I did learn quite quickly is that the process of rehearsing means that the writing is often tweaked, often for logistical reasons. So in this case, actually, we had to shave quite a lot off, didn't we?
We shaved quite a lot off because also there was a 90-minute it's a 90-minute slot at the King's Head, which we didn't entirely know before we started rehearsing. So bits kind of...
There was a lot of chaotic blowtorching rather than systematic.
No, it's not. I'm a very good cutter, Andrew. But I've forgotten the question.
Did the cast help
Well,
you to make any of
absolutely.
these tweaks to put their mark on it?
When we were auditioning, and Rolando was clearly the best auditionee for Rayan, who wasn't called Rayan at that point. He was called Arjun because he was of South. I get very confused. He was Indian. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. But he was so good, and his background is half Thai, half Italian, which is really, you could never write a half Thai, half Italian American character because you'd never find the
Very
actor.
niche.
But one came along, so we kind of tried to use that.
Well, I was wondering the same with the Norwegian character, because you, Øystein, are actually Norwegian. Yes?
I am, yeah. Yes,
So
yeah.
was that character always Norwegian?
No, he used to be French.
Ah! So you two absolutely have made your mark on this show, right?
He used to be French, but he didn't run a motel. He just turned up in the last scene.
And it was Paris, wasn't it? It wasn't always San Francisco.
It wasn't always and there is a Scandi motel in Lompoc, California.
I'll take your word for it.
We discovered ours is nicer.
Okay. And what about the food? Did you advise on the food?
Yes, I did. They came and asked for traditional Norwegian dishes, so I just listed up some dishes I knew, basically, and yeah.
You don't have to cook them, though.
I don't have to.
Okay, good.
No, it's very simple.
Okay, very good. So the hand that was ready to go. Let's hear it.
I was just going to ask something about the mechanics of the writing process. So did you draft a scene each, or did you work jointly on a scene together? Did you sit in the same room? Did you do it remotely?
Great question. Yeah.
You were at
We kind of did it in chunks.
we
didn't
did it in chunks.
He did the first chunk, I did the second chunk, because I was sort of thinking ahead in the tentative story. When I say tentative story, I mean that it was open to tweaking.
And then he came round and we worked it out over my kitchen table.
Yeah.
Really. And then said we'll write Act 3, the equivalent of Act 3. We'll write the last scene together. And did we? I think we did. And then again separately we tweaked it, and then.
Yeah. I mean, it complicated matters that I spent a few months in Australia after we got one of the first two drafts together. So there were some frantic internet phone calls, weren't there?
Yes.
but that was broadly it. So it was done in chunks because we both had an idea where to go. And then because of that, we could put the pieces together a bit like a big jigsaw on the table. And broadly, that's how it's been beyond those 3 chunks as well, because we now have 9 sections, don't we?
Yeah.
So the 9 sections are still kind of parts of a jigsaw that came from different chunks in the first place, but were put together slightly differently. So in the sense that it's like you've got the skeleton, and then you can rearrange it if you like. So what was interesting, I think what we ended up with was not that scenes as such were rewritten, but they were put in different places.
And the lead into
So I think we're both broadly comfortable with the skeleton. It's just where do you want to go?
So you work with each other in
We would. We're talking about it. We haven't come up with a plan yet, but we're talking.
Well, we didn't have too many rows, really.
We didn't have any. I made him lots of
I
coffee.
hope we didn't resolve it like
He
the
made me
characters
lots of
in play.
coffee, yes. He did.
Wait, I think, do we need the spoon? Where's the spoon? Okay, other hands. Yes, here.
Still on the writing process, do you feel that you respectively owned different characters, or did you all own all?
Yes, so yes, who takes
Ooh,
stewardship of different characters?
that's interesting. As we went on, I got fonder and fonder of Rayan and Mal as time went by. But I don't know if I feel different ownership for them.
No, I think we all love them all in a way, don't we?
Yeah.
What is interesting-
Rayan's experience is closer to my own personal experience of coming out.
You will have a soft spot for somebody who's somewhat closer to your life, but it's almost a salad. You take bits of your life, bits of Shaun's life are in there, and we kind of mixed it all up. So you always end up liking all of them. I mean, for example, the two, the Connor and Robbie, I mean, there are shades of Connor and Robbie in everyone, I think. You know, you can have a vicious argument over dinner and suddenly you're a bit Connor and Robbie and you really want to strangle your husband. And but then there are days when you really feel like, you know, like Mal, and you're a bit overwhelmed with everything and everything is new, and so it's all really part and parcel.
I want to say I love Rayan and Mal. I mean, I like all the characters, but they, especially the speech at the end, and when you really see each other for the first time. And Jake, you made that wonderful speech I wrote down about, you know, isn't the point of coming out that we can choose any relationship we want, which seems so powerful to me. And also the generational differences. I mean, forgive me for saying, but you, as writers from different generations, different generations in the cast, do you think these are generational differences, or are they just, you know, individual?
Oh, what, between Fidelity and Open? I don't think they're generational particularly. I don't know.
I wouldn't say so particularly. I mean, in my queer world, so to speak, I think open relationships are probably more common than not. What is interesting, actually, is not too long ago, I saw a play in the German Street Theatre, which was by somebody who'd written it in the 30s about an open relationship in the straight world, but hadn't published it then. It was only performed in 2017, and then for the second time last year. So these, I mean, these are recurrent themes. I mean, human nature is always going to throw up ideas like this. And I don't really get, I mean, I'm 49. I don't really get the impression that, well, I suppose I'm Gen X, right? So I don't get the impression that, you know, maybe Gen Z is less or more inclined towards, say, open relationships or thruples or whatever, or compared to my great-grandparents.
Is it your great-grandparents in the play?
He was his great-grandparents. I think Gen Z or whatever they are, whichever the latest generation is.
Yeah.
I confess, I'm a boomer. Which has now become a term of abuse.
Okay.
And I was married to a woman for 30 years, and I didn't come out till about 5 or 6 years ago. So, and I genuinely expected the gay world to be like the straight world, but with men. And of course, it's not. It absolutely isn't. So Rayan's learning curve is very parallel to mine.
Do you ask yourself the same question that he does? Is it easier being straight, do you think?
No.
No.
Not now.
No.
It
Good.
was then,
That's
maybe,
good to know.
but not now. I think it's quite tough being straight these days. Actually.
Cast, anything you want to weigh in on those subjects? Rolando.
Is it easier being straight?
Whatever you want to, any generational differences that you've noticed?
I think some of the things are quite, like, it could be anyone from any time. Like some of these struggles or even questions that you might have. I don't think they necessarily appertain to one period specifically. And that's why I feel the eternal issues that you can have or struggles.
I look at younger people generally today, and I think that younger people today have it much harder than I had it at the same age. Like the social media that you capture in the piece so well, and constantly being on show, really, and scrutinized, self-scrutinized.
I think that is way harder for younger people than the younger people, the pressure from social media and everything. Because, you know, in my day, you could just do whatever you wanted and get away with it.
Yeah.
It's like we're all exhibitionists now.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Well put. Okay, other hands. Yes, here.
First of all, thank you for introducing the word slumped into my vocabulary.
It was, when it was set in England, it was originally slanker. You might be able to use that as well.
I might be using that. How many of your own toxic exes are we seeing on stage?
Yes! And can you ever get back together with an ex? How many toxic exes?
There was a tattoo plumber from Croydon.
Did he come to opening night?
No.
You get called the night bus home.
How many toxic exes are you?
It's not so much toxic exes, it's just an amalgam of exes and the present. I mean, for example, this idea that, you know, we can all completely freak out at each other within and be in a toxic relationship, even though we're not generally in one. For example, a few years ago, I went to the Twickenham Ale Festival with my husband, and we overdid the traditional English ciders. And then we went for dinner at a French restaurant, had the most unbelievable row. And it was really embarrassing in retrospect. It was brilliant fun at the time. But you can't, the thing is that these things sometimes happen, and we both had a bit to drink, and I've often thought, I have a lot of addiction issues in my family. I come from a long line of alcoholics and depressives and pill poppers. Actually, that's just my mother.
Mine too.
It's one of the, so it all gets wrapped up. If you drink too much, you will be in a toxic relationship. If you live with an addict, you will be in a toxic relationship, whether you like it or not. And there are times when these things explode. And looking back on it, we basically cleared out the restaurant. The Maître d' was sitting there looking really embarrassed and depressed. I don't think we would have been invited to leave the waiter a large tip on that occasion.
Yeah.
And so, that's the sort of thing that I was thinking about for a restaurant in the East Village, Reed Twickenham. That was and so I think that it's really more that whatever relationship you're in, all sorts of things can happen.
Yeah.
I can certainly think of a few toxic exes. It's just that what's more interesting is the long-term relationship with a long-term partner, and how things like addiction and all that kind of thing can play into it.
Yeah. And Cass, what do you think? Do you bring to mind any toxic exes when you're performing?
We kind of had a conversation about it in rehearsals, not necessarily about, I think, us playing a toxic ex, but more in seeing parts of toxic exes we've had previously in the characters that you all bring, and I think
And the bad behaviour.
and the bad behaviours, and so I think we did have a bit of a conversation about that, around the table, about our own experiences with exes, and when you do that, that really reminds me of so and so,
And I'm going to pick on you, Ashley and Rob. Your characters are kind of jerks, right? But really fun as well. Are they fun to play, especially when you're up to all your antics, your Tina Turner and your dancing around?
There was a point where we were trying to make them just really nice, and then thought, actually they're really narcissistic.
they're not nice people.
Yeah, so let's just go for it.
Yeah.
But the play is a real joy because it's very kind of, like Shaun was saying, 20s, 30s, Noel Coward-esque, but then there are some wonderful kind of farcical moments, and then in places it's very Netflix, it's very televisual.
Yes.
So it's a really nice sort of amalgamation of different styles, which is lovely actually, and keeps you on your toes. And we have so much TV and so much Netflix now, and we don't need these long speeches anymore when things can be said very quickly and directly.
And on the subject of televisual, I guess, a great use of video in this piece. So I just want to shout out your video designer, Matt Powell. Beautifully done, the art installations, but also the way that you incorporate the social media and the live feeds. That must be a technical nightmare, so well done to Abby.
Abby is brilliant. Abby, I have to tell you, runs the show single-handedly.
Yeah.
Every cue, every lighting cue, every sound cue, every video cue, she is up there with her magic fingers doing all that.
And she remains very calm. You had some technical issues before the house opened today, and she never flustered. Did you even know that? You didn't? Nope, never flustered.
Even makes the forical.
Even makes the what?
The forical, the stew.
The stew.
Oh, she makes the food.
She does everything.
And she is not Norwegian. Okay, I think we've got time for one or two more questions. Yeah, here we go.
When you're writing a play and then you have to put it on stage, how do you work out, or how long does it take you to work out how your staging is going to be, like the stage sets, and how do you put it across? Because obviously
Well, a lot of that would be, I guess, the director's decision. And we mentioned, it was mentioned earlier, the play text is up for sale, so you can see how much directorial notes they give. But Shaun, what do you want to say further?
You kind of have a lot of that is down to the director. I didn't know we were getting all this video. I mean, we kind of wrote it to work without any of that stuff. But it's great that we had it. I thought we were going to just imagine the projections on the fourth wall. I didn't know they were going to cover the whole set, and I think it's gorgeous and draws you in and looks lovely. You always have an idea of kind of what it might look like. I'd always imagined it would be a white set, for example, but none of that was set until Brona, her creative team, together, and we got Greg O'Donnelly to do the set, which is
Yes.
I think
We've
great.
got a brilliant creative team. I mean, the most important people in the theatre is the audience. So, Brona brought a fantastic team of Greg O'Donnelly on the set, Clancy did our lighting, Matt did our AV of our videos, and then Max Pappenheim did our sound. It's a really fabulous team.
And also, let's have a shout out for Jess Tucker Boyd, a female fight director. That's cool. And the fight, I mean, like, there were gasps with some of your slapping about. And also, she did your intimacy. So, and that's very important in this piece, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, 10 years ago, you just snog someone's face off or smack them in the, rough them around a bit. But now you really plan every detail. And
So choreographed.
yeah, it's like doing a dance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you do it.
My hand goes here, your hand goes here, my lip goes there.
Okay, can we give a little bit of a secret away? So, it looked like, depending on the angle, you just hear the slap or whatever. How are you making the slap noise? It's really...
You make so-called naps. So you
Yeah.
just like touch your
He's
chest.
covered in
like-
bruises.
He actually is.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Both sides full.
He really are.
Yeah, but
Your naps are too good, darling.
So not to embarrass you, but if we're drawing attention to your body, is that you? It's not you?
it's not me.
The dancer.
Not
Do you-
the- the,
Yeah, do you know what? You can't actually, when you're on stage, you can't see these amazing projections so much.
No.
Just when you step back into the audience, then you're like, wow, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does.
So it was only after a few shows that we were doing bits and we'd go and have a look and be like, oh, it looks great. Isn't
I
it?
think you should say that to you. Okay, I think we've got to wind up now, but I do always like to finish with something a little bit more fun. So this is, as Shaun said, a play with a happy ending, but it's only a happy ending on the day, isn't it, necessarily? So I want your predictions. Is it happily ever after for your character or the other characters? Let's start with you, Jake. Is it happily ever after?
No, I think Miles got far too many trust issues. Some time in therapy. I don't think he's ready for anyone.
No? Rolando, is it happily ever after?
Maybe not ever after, but happy for a while. And
Yeah.
then I don't know, maybe something happens.
Oh, okay.
Maybe art difference.
Yeah, okay. But you guys give it a go. Your characters give it a go.
I think Sebastian's just happy to get laid, and keep going on Grindr, and just eventually maybe he'll find someone.
Oh.
when his ass cheeks sound.
Oh, actually, this is an aside. This is. I hope this isn't too much of a heteronormative question, but I got a little confused by the emojis. What do all the emojis mean?
Was anybody else confused by that?
You have to ask Matt Powell, our
Video designer.
Yeah, video designer.
It is the classic emojis that represent body parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's quite funny. So I was just thinking it's quite funny because during rehearsals, Ash doesn't understand that Ash is straight.
Oh, you've been outed.
There we go.
Outed.
And during rehearsals, Ash would be like, "What's a twin?"
Had to learn these things.
Very good, very good. Did you know what all the emojis meant?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
my mother watches this. No.
Rob, happily ever after?
Absolutely not. I think they'll kill each other.
I don't think we even got to shagging Sebastian. I think we would have argued about who goes first with Sebastian and fell out there and then.
Yeah, it is definitely it's exhausting your relationship for sure. For sure.
It's obviously to play it. Yeah, no. I think they'd be I think they like you saw in the play, 1 minute arguing, next minute all over each other.
Yeah, short lives, I think. You can't live with that kind of stress. But very entertaining to watch. Very entertaining to watch. So, Shaun, remind me, Exhibitionists is here at the King's Head until
February the 10th.
February the 10th, and then you and Andrew might be working together again on maybe a play set in a financial magazine office.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, possibly. I was always told by an old editor I had, who used to be at the Sunday Times, that journalism is actually showbiz when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because you have to, I have to write an editor's letter to 22,000 people every week. So in a way you have to adopt a persona, and you're giving a view, and you're almost giving a performance, really. So, it's not that far apart. But no, I don't think we'll do the financial world. We've
I don't
talked
know,
about doing
you-
a script.
You may have given
A
us
film
a really
script.
good idea. If we set it in a fictionalised version of your editorial office, we could do like a His Boy Friday.
Yes, that's a good idea.
I don't know. I'm not sure you want to deal with the Amdram that is my. I've actually had to be on the phone to a writer and ask him politely to postpone his nervous breakdown from Tuesday to Thursday so I can get the magazine out on Wednesday. It's all a bit noises off, darling.
No, so many theatrical references. But His Girl Friday, it started off as a stage play, didn't it?
Yeah, the front page, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I've seen that. Okay, well, I'm full of ideas. You can sort out the royalties with me later.
Okay.
But thank you so much, guys. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, can I make a shameless shout out?
Yes, you
The
can.
show that comes after,
Oh, yes, please
Yeah,
have a
do.
shameless shout out.
which is called Turning the Screw.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise is, how do you say no to someone who has the power to make or break your career?
And how are you associated with that show?
I'm the right.
And would you like a post-show Q&A? Would you like a post-show Q&A?
I have a card.
That's a shameless shout out. Okay, great. So we'll start. So come back for this post-show Q&A of Turning Up the Screw. That's great. We'll talk after. But audience, you've been absolutely wonderful. So now, audience, you are our ambassadors for this production, for the next production, for the King's Head Theatre generally. Please do go forth and spread the word. After we give everybody a big clap, I'm going to say we all bunch up and let's have a group shot. And all of you who said you're on social media, please take photos and share everywhere. Tell people, stop them in the street, come again. Have I missed anything? Anything that else I need to say, Rob?
No, just thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
thank you. Use it or lose it. That's what I think about theatre. Use this place. It's a wonderful space, but if people don't use it, that it's very, very tight for them to make money here. Is a charity, I think.
Yes.
Is it a charity? Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. So
And
thank
another
you.
shout out to don't forget the bucket when you're leaving. Okay, so applause at the end. Please join me in thanking Jake and Andrew and Shaun and Ashley and Rob and Øystein and Rolando. Sorry. Thank you.